Okay, so I've got this newly gifted to me OS Max 3 15 engine. Max 3 OS 15. Now, in my last mystery box video when I opened that up and these are engines from John, I discovered looking at the OS webpage after that this engine was actually introduced to the market in 1961. But I want to take, and hopefully this isn't sacrilege and hopefully John doesn't get upset, I want to take a quick look inside this engine because I've never done that before. This is a really old engine and I'm curious to see what the internals look like. So let's give it a shot and see what we have here. I have no idea how much runtime this engine has on it. So don't really know anything about this engine other than what I've already mentioned. Amazingly, all these fasteners, 4 fasteners, came off really easy, and our gasket is intact. Look at that. That's pretty cool. Don't have to worry about that. Alright, let's look inside here. Wow, look at that. This thing looks brand new. Smells like it's been run, but man, if it's been run much, it hasn't been run much. Let's see if we can see what the top of the piston looks like here. And I know I forgot to zoom out, but I think this is a baffled piston too. So here's something that's interesting. Look at this. Look at how the plug is offset away from the exhaust. That's kind of interesting. I think I do see a baffle. So this is obviously not a Schnurl ported engine. It's a cross-flow scavenged. Is this the right size for these guys? Yeah. Okay, this is interesting. 3 screws are extremely long, which I did not expect. And 3 were shorter. So here's the inside of that. It looks like it's got some runtime. I don't want to lose the orientation of these screws. It's an interesting design. Yep, it's got that baffle on the top of the piston. Not sure if I'm going to go ahead and heat this sleeve up and take this completely apart, or if this is where I'm going to stop. Obviously this is not a ball bearing engine, at least it does not appear. There's quite a bit of in play here. That's interesting looking too. Now, as I said in my first video, I'm not entirely sure, based on the image I saw on the OS website, I'm not entirely sure that this is the stock carb that came with this engine. It's an OS 21 air bleed style, and I don't know about that being stock arm, but the carb that was shown on the website, the OS website, did not really look like this at all. Be kind of curious to see if I could get this sleeve out so I could actually disassemble this thing completely. But I think, okay, in hindsight, this looks like this was really not a good idea to do, because I heated this thing up and this whole top assembly comes up. It's really warm, and of course I didn't realize there's a paper gasket in there that is now destroyed. So that's not good, and it feels fairly thick, so I'm probably going to have to make a new gasket for this now, which hopefully won't be a big deal. But then again, that some gun is hot. And there's our piston. and our crankshaft. So that was kind of a dumbass on my part. Probably should have actually investigated to see if there was a review on this engine first before doing that. Then I would have known I needed a gasket, but anyway, I think this will be easy enough to make a gasket out of anyway, so not a big deal. So looks like this is an integral piece here, the head and sleeve. Of course, now that I got it apart, I can actually put it all in my ultrasonic cleaner. There's a crankshaft, quite small, and the piston looks like, okay, so I thought that wrist pin was wanting to come out, but it's actually just stuck in the groove here. So now that I've got this apart, at least this gasket here, which is probably the most difficult one to remake, I'm probably not even going to put this in the in the ultrasonic cleaner. It's just going to be this and piston. So I'm probably just going to put that in the head in here. I think I can figure out where these long screws go. Take a look at it for reference. These are the long screws, here, here, and here. And that way I can put all the rest of this in here and get cleaned up. Okay, so here's my cleaned up engine parts after coming out of the ultrasonic cleaner. Wasn't really intending to do that, but because I destroyed this gasket, this very thick gasket, I end up having to just clean it. So what I'm going to do to replace this gasket is I'm just going to use a piece of manila folder. It's roughly the same thickness, and my thought is I'm just going to kind of trace it on here like this and then cut it out and put the head on it like this to mark for the holes and be done with it, because there's only 3 holes that go through that gasket, so shouldn't be that big of a deal. But here's a little piston. This is a steel or cast iron piston, a steel sleeve construction, typical of this vintage of engine. So nice engine. It'll be running very soon, and I'll show it to you again once I've got it all put back together. Alright, here's the finished cleaned up engine. I put a gasket in here, reassembled it. Seems to have good compression for this size engine. So next step will be to run this baby sometime.